So much for tuning into this week's Midweek Motivational. I'm really excited that you guys are listening in. Again, as always, I want to thank everybody that emailed me from last week. I love talking to you guys, and I love hearing your stories and things like that. So, again, at the end of this video, I'm going to leave my email address where you can contact me and the website, so that you guys can, get a little bit more familiar with what I'm trying to do. And, yeah. So today I'm going to do a little different video. I'm going to share my testimony. I just kind of felt led to kind of share it, so hopefully it blesses somebody in the process. So I'm just going to jump right in. I remember growing up in church, and my parents made us go to church. It was not like a choice. And so at the time I was just like, oh, I don't want to go to church. And so I got baptized at like the age of 6. I didn't really understand. I don't feel like I really understood at that age. But it is what it is. So growing up in the church, you hear so many times that like God is a healer and He's a deliverer and He's a way maker and things like that. And I don't know if I really believed it at that time. And it really started to, my unbelief really started to kick in when life experiences began to happen. It started when I was maybe in 4th or 5th grade when my cousin got killed. And in my mind I was just like, well, you said you was a deliverer, you said you was a healer or a protector and things like that, but I'm not seeing that, so I can't really believe what I'm hearing about you. And so I kind of like suppressed those feelings. I didn't really know how to handle it. I didn't really know how to deal with it, so I just kind of suppressed it. And I just let it ride. And from then, it just kind of seemed like a ripple effect. I had friends dying from heart failure. I had friends dying from cancer, or I had friends dying because they got into car accidents, friends dying because they fell asleep at the wheel and was ejected from their cars. I had family members killed, shot, brutally murdered, multiple family members. I've had family members killed by being like ran over by cars by people that were upset with them. I had family members died, of old age and accidental drownings and just a bunch of things. It was so much, and it was so much for me to take in, just growing up and just hearing so many times that God is a healer, God is a deliverer, God is a waymaker, He's a protector and things like that. And I'm just like, you didn't do that for me though. You didn't do that for me in my life. You didn't do that for my family members. You didn't do that for my friends. I mean, you didn't protect them from being shot in the head. You didn't protect them. You know what I'm saying? So at that time of my life, I was just like, I can't believe anything that people say about you. I wanted nothing to do with Him. I was so frustrated. But since I was living with my parents, I still had to go to church. I still was made to do things that I didn't really want to do. I mean, to me, my mindset was, as a Christian, we're supposed to, or as a follower of Christ, we're supposed to live up to this expectation. It's kind of like that expectation, like, okay, like, we're supposed to serve Him with our lives. We're supposed to honor Him with our bodies. We're supposed to, really strive to live a holy life. But I mean, if that was expected of me, then what I'm hearing about you, that would have been expected of you, and I wasn't seeing it. I wasn't seeing you being a protector or a deliverer or a way maker. I wasn't seeing that. So I'm like, how can you expect me to do something, but I'm not seeing you do anything? And that was my mindset. That was my mindset at the time. And so I was growing up, and I was just like, I wasn't into church. I didn't really want to go. I was like, oh, I gotta go again, like every Sunday. And so I graduated from high school briefly. Shortly after that, another one of my friends passed away. But I graduated from high school, and then I went to college. And in college, I just kind of like wilded out. Like, it was just like a party every day. Like, that was where I met my first boyfriend. And I mean, I was just like, well, I mean, I'm off on my own. I can do whatever I want to do. I thought I was grown. So I was just like, well, all right. So we started, having sex, premarital sex and things like that. And I was like, okay, yeah. Like, I felt like a rebel. I felt like I was doing something. I was like, yes, like, I'm just not the PK. Like, I can just, like, do what I want to do. And so, after a while, that was fine. And after a while, I was just like, okay, I got kind of tired of how he was treating me. So I was like, I got to get rid of you. So we broke up, and then I dipped into drinking, and drinking was definitely another outlet for me. I started drinking so much to where I wanted to pass out, to where I wanted to throw up, to where I wanted to black out. Like, throwing up was like my goal. There was a couple times where I just kind of wanted to keep drinking to see, if maybe I could take myself out. It never worked. I would always wake up the next day and I would never knew what happened. But I was just like, and now I realize that was strictly God's grace over my life. Strictly His grace, His mercy, and His protection, definitely. But anyways, drinking was definitely another one of my outlets, and like, nobody knew what I was going through. Nobody knew that I was like suppressing all these feelings deep down inside because I didn't know how to deal with it. And so, my friends would catch me crying sometimes, like bawling my eyes out. They would just think it was the alcohol, but I mean, I was very coherent. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I knew why I was crying. And it was because I felt like alcohol was my outlet at the time when it really wasn't. I was still unhappy. I was still sad. I was still kind of like depressed on the inside, so I was just like, alright. So now, in addition to having sex, I'm now drinking, misusing alcohol in the utmost. So I felt like that was kind of not enough. I needed more. So there was a day where I was just like, well, I'm not doing anything, so let me just watch porn. I don't know where that came from. It was well, I don't know if it was random. I feel like the seed was planted at a younger age, but that's a different story. But I was like, well, let me just watch it. So I watched one. I was like, I'm just gonna watch it one time. That's it. And so I watched once, and then one time turned into, twice a week, and then twice a week turned into like every day of the week, and then every day of the week turned into like 2-3 times a day. It got so bad to the point where like I started skipping my classes. Like, I didn't want to go to class because I was like, I'd rather watch porn. It was really, really bad. It was an addiction. It was definitely an addiction. I heard a lot of times that porn is not an addiction, but it really is, because I could not break out of that at all. It was only by the grace of God that I was able to actually overcome that. So yeah. So after a while, I was addicted to porn for 4 years. So after a while, 5 years. So after a while, I was just tired. I was just like, I'm tired of living like this. And I moved back home, and then I moved out, and I was still doing the same things that I didn't really want to do. So there was one day where I was just tired, and I was like, God, I can't do this anymore. And I was surprised I was even talking to him, because I didn't really have a communication with him. But I told him, I was like, if you want me to change, then you're going to have to make me stop what I'm doing. I said, and I remember this, I will never forget it, because I felt like I was testing God. I said, I heard that you were, this. I'm not seeing this. I never have. I've lost so many people in my life. And if you are who you say you are, you're going to have to come down yourself and make me stop what I'm doing. That was it. So I was like, alright, he's going to make me stop. If he want me to stop, he'll make me stop. So one day, little did I know he was about to actually do this. In December of 2012, I remember I was driving to work, and it was snowing outside, and anybody that knows, like, here in Indiana, we get like, not like a lot of snow, not like Pennsylvania and up in that area, but we get a lot of snow. And so when you're driving to work, you have to make sure you have a lot of windshield wiper fluid, just in case, because the dirt from the tires of the cars and the trucks around you will get on your windshield, and you need to wipe it off with your windshield wipers. So I was driving to work one day and I didn't have windshield wiper fluid, and so of course I just I can't see anything. I'm like, okay, I can't see. So I felt myself kind of veering over in the next lane because my vision was clouded. I couldn't see anything. I was veering over in the next lane, and I hear cars like beeping at me because I couldn't see where they were coming from. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know this is going to be horrible. So you know how kind of like you be like, oh my God, like you kind of like say God's name, but you're not really trying to call on him, which is not a good thing in and of itself, but that's a whole different story. So in that moment, I just kind of gripped the steering wheel, and I was like, God, I can't see. And I wasn't trying to call on him. I wasn't trying to communicate with him. It was just something that came out, and I said, God, I can't see. And the minute I said God's name, the semi-truck passed me, and it splashed water on my windshield. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, and in that moment, I just started crying, because I knew, it was like a supernatural encounter with God. It was so crazy to me that I called his name, and he actually, like, helped me. He, like, helped me. And so in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, and I just started crying, and I just started like, God, I thank you, like, thank you. Like, I didn't even know how to talk to him at the time. I was like, thank you, like, I'm sorry, I don't know, like, and I just started like kind of like confessing, like, I'm sorry, like, I shouldn't have done this, and I did this, and I did that, and I did this, and I did that, and I didn't even know that I was saying all this stuff, but you know, I was just so apologetic. And then in that moment, I knew that I was delivered. I knew it. It was like an instant moment, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't have that. I could feel the weight kind of being lifted off my shoulder as I was like kind of confessing, and as I was like telling God, like, I'm sorry, and like, forgive me, and things like that. So in that moment, I knew that I was delivered. Now, it wasn't easy afterwards. I know, like, sometimes people who have addictions, like, they have to actually go to get like help, and that's why I think it's just awesome how God just kind of, you know, just kind of instantaneously, like, you know, it was just not, I can't even explain it. It was so supernatural that it was just kind of like, wow, alright, I'm free, I'm delivered, I'm healed, thank you. Like, it was so weird. So I can't even explain it. It was definitely something that God did. And so when I was I'm gonna look on my phone because I have these Bible verses. At first, I didn't really understand why my parents made me go to church, and I didn't really like the fact that they did, because I was like, I'm always in church, and I'd just rather be with my friends. But I remember this one verse, and it said, it's Proverbs 22, verse 6. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And I love that, because I'm just like, okay, this verse makes me thank my parents so much for how they raised me in the church. Because if it wasn't for that that foundation that they instilled in me, I don't know where I would be. I don't know where I would be, because they trained me up in the way that I should have gone. I backslid, but in the end, I'm back. Like, I came back. So I feel like this is definitely, it's just crazy how this is just my life. Like, it's my life. And the first verse that I read when I came back to God was 1 John chapter 1 verse 9, and it says, if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. And this really helps me, because I dealt with guilt for a long time after I repented. I dealt with a lot of guilt, because I was like, how can I do this to you? Like, I'm sorry. And like, he really healed that area of, like, you know, me wondering why my family members got killed, why my family members were dying, why my friends were being killed, why they were dying, and things like that. He mended that hurt and that pain and that suppression, and it was very supernatural. And that, like, now, recently I had a friend who to get killed, who got killed a couple weeks ago, and now death doesn't really get to me like it did when I was growing up, because I know my father. I know who my father is, and I know that I completely trust him. I completely trust him. It's kind of like I blamed him for things, but I think a lot of people blame him for things, but that's the whole thing about life. We get free will, we get free choices. So it definitely isn't God's fault that somebody else decided to kill my cousin. Like, yes, he knew it was going to happen, but we have free will, we have choices, we make our own decisions. So that's definitely something that a lot of people need to realize. A lot of people blame God for so much, and it's just like, well, no, like he gives us a free will. He knows everything that's going to happen before it happens, but he still gives us a free will to do the things that we do. And so that definitely helped me on playing the blame game with God, because I blamed him for everything. I was one of those ones that blamed him for everything. But I guess, like, what I want to say is, if you are struggling with anything, it could be an addiction, it could be anything you're struggling with, I just want to encourage you to just keep fighting the good fight. Don't give up on God. Keep seeking his face. Keep chasing after him. Keep on, like, intentionally trying to get rid of whatever it is that you're struggling with, intentionally, because he can definitely come in and change you. He will definitely come in and change you. I mean, at the time I wasn't seeking him. I was not seeking him at all, but he came in and grabbed me. I felt like I kept running, and he kept chasing me, and then finally he caught me, and now I'm chasing after him, like, God, I want more of you, I need more of you every single day. And so I definitely just want to encourage you guys just to keep pressing. Like, a lot of times people give up, people just kind of stop in their tracks with what they're doing, and they let their situations kind of consume them, and they let their situations kind of like bring them down. But I feel like we need to use our negative situations as a stepping stone and not as a stumbling block. And so I definitely just kind of I wanted to share my story of where God has brought me from, and hopefully that it encourages you to continue to fight the good fight and continue to put your faith in God and keep your faith in God, and just know that he can, he will, he has, and he's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So just keep trusting him. And yeah, so if you guys want to talk about anything, I'm so available for that. My email is beautifully.you@gmail.com. The website is bebeautifulllyu.com. I look forward to hearing from you guys. I definitely want to hear about maybe your testimonies and where God has brought you from, because I love hearing these stories. I love hearing testimony stories, and I feel like it's such a blessing that we share these stories, because I feel like some of us, we sit on our blessings. Like me, I can't just sit on this testimony because I want to use it to bless others. And a lot of times people sit on their blessings. So just email me. I would love to talk to you guys. Remember, always be bold, be beautiful, be you. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next week.